Your thumb hurts, your wrist aches. You are quite literally injuring yourself just to read the news on your phone. You sort of swipe through an endless feed, stretch your hand across a massive glass rectangle, and subject your own tendons to a relentless barrage of microtraumas.
Researchers at Aalto and Leipzig universities built an artificial intelligence model proving that exact physical damage. They call it log-to-motion. The system calculates the precise biomechanical toll of using a smartphone. We are tracking a massive causal chain today.
The physical strain demanded by our devices feeds directly into the massive financial engines producing the hardware, which, enriches quiet, dividend-paying companies profiting from the entire ecosystem.
The software acts like a digital orthopedic surgeon. It relies on reinforcement learning coupled with an advanced physics engine. A user interacts with an app and the system runs a real-time emulator. It maps out a musculoskeletal model using digital bones and digital muscles.
Oh, the process translates raw smartphone touch logs into simulated human motion. Previous smartphone testing methods only documented where a finger physically touched the screen. Software developers receive zero data on whether that specific movement was actually comfortable for the human hand.
Log-to-motion tracks the physical speed and the total energy expenditure required by your anatomy to execute those software commands.
Reaching for a tiny, poorly placed navigation icon in the top left corner of your display actively causes physical strain. Up, down, and down, up swipes demand massive effort from your thumb muscles. The data output reveals the exact movements causing pain.
Motion synthesis from touch logs treats user discomfort as a solvable computational problem.
Wait, tech companies have essentially designed tiny, unergonomic treadmills for our hands. Scrolling through a social media application feels like a forced repetitive stress injury carefully engineered by a software developer in Silicon Valley.
Developers prioritize software speed over human anatomy. Connecting raw touch data with biomechanics allows engineers to quantify the specific energy drain caused by placing a button a few millimeters too high on a screen.
The AI pinpoints the exact millisecond your thumb muscles start working overtime. They simulate highly specific scenarios. The system models someone lying sideways on the couch, holding the phone in one hand, and forcing their thumb to cover the entire digital keyboard.
Designers run simulations for accessibility needs as well. The tool estimates the physical cost of a swipe for a user with tremors or reduced muscle strength. They test how someone with a prosthetic device experiences an interface compared to someone without one.
The system generates detailed motion sequences that estimate the physical cost of an application before it ever reaches the public app store. The physical strain is demanded by the hardware buried inside the device. The glass screen requires immense processing power just to register those tiring, repetitive swipes. Qualcomm is currently stuffing purpose-built Snapdragon mobile processors into handsets to turn them into standalone AI devices.
Only 11% of U.S. smartphone owners are upgrading their devices specifically for artificial intelligence features. A major consumer survey from the middle of last year showed that number dropping from 18% in 2024.
Consumer interest in mobile artificial intelligence is collapsing. If nobody is buying the AI hype on their phones, why should you care about Qualcomm?
Qualcomm is taking their mobile architecture directly into the data center. They are extracting the highly power-efficient designs from their Snapdragon chips and aiming them straight at enterprise server racks.
Precedence Research expects the global AI processor industry to grow an average of more than 26% every single year through 2034. Mobile chips are designed to operate without draining a tiny phone battery.
Stuffing thousands of those specific chips into a server rack, theoretically, requires significantly less electricity than running traditional power-hungry computer processors.
The entire tech industry is desperately searching for ways to lower the massive electrical burden of running artificial intelligence models.
Pushing into data centers puts Qualcomm in direct, fierce competition with NVIDIA. The company recognizes the terminal stagnation in mobile phone upgrades. They are pivoting a massive hardware operation away from a saturated consumer market toward enterprise infrastructure.
Even when the mobile market stagnated in 2019, forcing a brief pause on payout hikes, Qualcomm never actually stopped paying dividends. You are looking at 23 consecutive years of dividend growth alongside a trailing yield near 2.9%.
The data center market provides a much longer runway for growth than the mobile sector. Smartphones are entirely a replacement market now. Consumers only buy a new one when the old one shatters.
Data centers represent a massive expansion market. Companies are currently building out computing capacity at a rate that defies historical precedent.
Oracle is dropping $50 billion on capital expenditures this year alone.
Wait, their expected top-line revenue is only $67 billion.
The transition requires immense capital. Spending $50 billion to build facilities and buy processors guarantees absolutely nothing.
Earning $67,000 a year and immediately spending $50,000 of it building a massive, incredibly hot server rack in your living room is a terrifying financial decision. You are betting your entire future on the vague promise that someone will eventually pay to rent out that rack.
Shareholders hit the panic button. Oracle's stock crashed over 50% from its September peak. The euphoric phase of artificial intelligence investing is entirely over.
Institutional investors are heavily doubting the actual marketable value of AI solutions. Companies spend billions buying chips and building facilities without establishing a clear path to profitability.
The technology simply is not the magic bullet that software developers promised 2 years ago. The massive sell-off pumped Oracle's forward-looking dividend yield up to 1.4%.
Their quarterly per-share dividend payout has grown more than 130% over the past decade. The company aggressively expects their annual top line to grow from $67 billion this fiscal year to $225 billion by 2030.
Most of that massive projection relies entirely on their AI cloud infrastructure business scaling perfectly.
Right.
The massive gap between hardware capability and software utility creates extreme financial volatility.
Oracle is attempting to bridge that terrifying gap with a $50 billion capital expenditure plan. Over time, developers usually figure out how to extract more meaningful performance out of the underlying platforms.
They are building the infrastructure on the blind assumption that software engineers will eventually invent a profitable use case.
They are building a massive stadium and desperately hoping someone invents a sport to play inside it.
Running that massive stadium requires immense physical resources. The software feels invisible and lightweight to the consumer swiping on their phone. The hardware executing those swipes requires massive industrial infrastructure.
All of Oracle's $50 billion worth of servers generate a suffocating amount of heat. Keeping those processors from melting down requires immense energy and perfect geographic placement.
Black Hills is a $5 billion small-cap utility company. Unlike Constellation Energy or Vistra, Black Hills has not seen a massive speculative stock surge from the AI boom.
They operate power grids, specifically in states like Wyoming and Nebraska, which is incredibly funny when you trace the money. You have Silicon Valley titans setting $50 billion on fire to build processors that consumers actively refuse to buy.
The real winner of the artificial intelligence revolution turns out to be a 56-year-old utility company in Nebraska quietly selling them cold air. Institutional investors routinely ignore small-cap utilities.
The physical reality of running artificial intelligence models forces tech companies to hunt for cheap energy and naturally cold weather. Black Hills holds a monopoly on both in their specific region.
They are selling the shovels in the water during a gold rush. Their geographic footprint serves as their primary asset. They control vast service areas with deep fiber optic connectivity and massive energy sources.
The critical factor is the very cool ambient air in those specific Midwestern states. When you run a 50-megawatt data center, the temperature outside dictates how much electricity you must waste on industrial air conditioning.
Pulling in naturally freezing air from a Wyoming winter prevents server racks from melting down. Owners and operators are flocking to rural sites served by Black Hills just to keep their equipment temperatures under control without bankrupting themselves on cooling costs.
Utility companies sit at the absolute base of the artificial intelligence supply chain. The market value of Black Hills is suppressed entirely by a lack of Wall Street awareness.
They boast a 56-year streak of uninterrupted annual dividend increases. They offer a forward yield hovering near 4%. They also have an upcoming merger with Northwestern Energy to rapidly scale their operation.
The merger with Northwestern Energy creates a massive regional powerhouse. The combined entity secures the physical land, provides the raw electricity, and offers the natural climate control required by the largest technology companies on Earth.
We are tearing our thumb muscles apart to swipe on artificial intelligence features we actively refuse to pay for. Tech giants burn $50 billion on server racks to process those painful swipes.
A random utility company in Nebraska quietly collects a massive profit off the exhaust heat. The physical data loops directly back to the software.
Log2Motion proves that modern interface design causes measurable biomechanical damage to the human hand. The rapid expansion of massive data centers proves that technology companies will spare absolutely no expense to harvest those user interactions.
The entire system is explicitly built to extract physical effort from the consumer and funnel it into energy-intensive server farms.
As AI models like log-to-motion get smarter at mapping our exact physical limits, will tech companies use that data to make our screens more comfortable? Or will they just optimize the interface to keep us swiping right up to the exact millisecond before our muscles fail?
UI